swear to God, man, I swear to God. None of you are expecting this. None of you are prepared. None of you are prepared. Seriously. None of you are expecting this. The frickin' Iron Church is coming, my dudes. What's going on, everyone? My name's Tenebris Infinite, and today we are going to be talking about the Iron Church and all of the crazy expansions that have happened to them over the span of the Landfall update. The expansions on the Iron Church here in Landfall are easily some of the least anticipated expansions we've seen so far, and it's really exciting to see so much activity from the Iron Church here, especially as things with the Soviets are also reaching a bit of a fever pitch. Just before we jump into what has been expanded on in Landfall here, and some of the things that I'm anticipating in the future here, we should really quickly just go over some of the events from the Iron Church that we've had so far. So our first interaction with the Iron Church was all the way back when Alpine Unrest launched. I managed to unearth this hidden church that was hidden under the Klaxonsferen Lighthouse over here on the far coast of Alpine Unrest, Tenebris Island. It was hidden under our nose pretty much the whole time this DLC was out. So it's just down this really trippy little pathway where we can find a whole bunch of apocalypse juice and then some strange dumbbells that are labeled Iron Church. Heading deeper down the stairwell here, we find a very, very trippy church just kind of mashed right into this like underground cavern, and it's the coolest thing. It's kind of awesome how to this day it's still one of the coolest locations in the game. And inside of here is a very trippy church hall with this guy, Pope of the Iron Church, the frickin' Pope of the Iron Church. And then all of these dumbbells. We've got Dr. Ends, and then we've got the Iron Church. Trust me, my dudes, I probably sound crazy talking about this stuff, but it all connects together. We have dudes that exercise so hard that they die from it. This guy was lifting dumbbells at the same time as doing a bench press. How does that work? And then to tie it all together, we have freaking Frederick Holberg's access badge sitting here in the Iron Church. So our boy Freddy is somehow tied to the Iron Church, and somehow tied to this Pope of the Iron Church with his shiny freaking teeth, too. Y'all asking for a new boss machine in Generation Zero? I want to have a boss fight with the Pope of the Iron Church. Let's go. Alvera Plains. Brawn ball bats only. Let's go, dude. Really, dudes, I think that the Iron Church is such a cool faction name, though, just kind of as an aside here. It's up there with, like, the Brotherhood of Steel in levels of cool faction names. But back then, nobody really caught on to the fact that the title of this group was the Iron Church. We were all just kind of mystified by yet another strange location over on Alpine Unrest. And the only real thing that we had picked up on, or at least I had picked up on, was Soyit, if I'm saying that correctly, which I've tried translating, and Google has no idea what it means. So, any of my Swedish viewers, maybe you could help out? But eventually we started catching on the repeated phrase, the Iron Church, on many of the dumbbells and other weights that were sitting around the Iron Church area. Then after that, everything went pretty dark on the Iron Church, and we didn't get any further updates on them until we started seeing some revamps to the farmlands. With this region revamp, we were introduced to the second Iron Church location added to the game, Bunker 666, with all of its very mysterious ambience of machine carnage going on the inside and potential cheering from an audience. Or potentially screams of terror. We'll have to wait and find out. This was also our first introduction to the ultra super cool Iron Church Hunter Sword. An incredibly fitting weapon for a faction that's based around melee combat, and we're going to be getting into that in just a moment here. I don't want to take too much longer about the history. We have one more event to go over before we start talking about what's going on with Landfall here. Our trail on the Iron Church went pretty cold after the point of Bunker 666 until we saw Phoenix Rising, the latest DLC that, or at least story-based DLC that we saw added to the game. Now, it was with Phoenix Rising that we got this very awesome set piece of a battle scene over near Torsberga Fort, where we can find a whole bunch of the Iron Church swords stabbed into a whole bunch of machines, and even the structures. Now, just think about how crazy you have to be to attack a freaking wall with a sword. And then imagine how crazy you have to be to win in that fight. I think that the Iron Church is going to be the craziest group we meet. Even crazier than the Liusek Commune, which, even though they're going to be crazy as heck, I don't think that they're going to be as insane as the Iron Church, and we'll get into that. But just the last thing, the Swordsman, the potential for this is so wild. Not only do we have the Apocalypse Hunters with their crazy nuclear swords that maybe someday we could use against them, but we also have all of the other Hunter swords and the unique ways you could customize them and make them kind of like have different effects like EMPs and stuff like that. It's really cool and potentially, I think, has the potential to be the coolest melee weapon we'll ever get in the game. Now, we get all of our information about the Iron Church in one newsletter, and it is so massive, the amount of information and the amount of world building and faction building that we get out of this newsletter here. So let's read through it really quickly and then discuss. So the newsletter reads, most of the residents in Oostervik have come to know about the group calling themselves the Iron Church by now. If you don't know what I speak of, it's the often quite muscular people who always move in groups and seem to think that all food belongs to them. They've even set up some kind of recruitment corner here in Old Oostervik, which I advise you all to stay away from. In this opening paragraph, we get confirmation on so many things about the Iron Church. First off, that they have a recruitment camp here in Haga. Next up, we get confirmation on the Iron Church being super obsessed about their physical prowess, their physical ability to take down these machines with melee weapons. The Iron Church likes to work in packs or small groups, and that's probably to best optimize melee combat against the machines, attacking from multiple angles and stuff. And we get confirmation of a almost alpha-like mentality where they believe that all the food belongs to them. And that means, yeah, not to the Resistance. Which is a really spicy expansion to the plot here and the ongoing plot of Generation Zero. I always believed, and like the whole community, always believed that the Iron Church would be more of like an ally faction to the Resistance. But it turns out now that they're kind of opposed to each other. Lisa has lived with the Iron Church for over 2 months before she decided to leave them. I read your article about Aster, and it's so nice how you all have your different ways to contribute here. It made me think about how I can help, and so here I am, Lisa says. Her eyes briefly meet mine before they return to scanning the windows behind me. There have been several confrontations between the Iron Church and the Oostervik Resistance lately, and Lisa is worried that things might turn ugly. I've read about the Oostervik Resistance since the first newsletter, you know. I would never forgive myself if I just sat back and let the Iron Church destroy what you've built up. Now, next up is where we get to the really spicy stuff here. The group existed already before the Cataclysm. Now, here's where we get to the really spicy stuff. The group existed already before the Cataclysm. They were prepared for something like this, Lisa says. The members had stocked up on food, and they were all training vigorously to be as ready as possible for the day when foreign countries would invade. That's why I joined them to begin with. I mean, I just wanted to survive the next day, and they seemed to know what they were doing. My mind was all desperate. Ever since I ran from the machines that first day, I've not been able to actually think. My mind has just been shut off while my body has been running. But I was wrong to join them. Do you know that new members are put on the field with nothing but a baseball bat and are only allowed to return once they've killed a machine? I've seen 3 young recruits die this way, and I'm sure that's not even all. It's forbidden to express any kind of weakness, like showing doubt that you would be fit enough to take on tons of machines. And dude, do I gotta say, me and Iron Church here, same energy? This is huge, dudes. This entire paragraph gives us such a huge explanation to the Iron Church. It's crazy. I was not expecting this kind of fat lore to be jam-packed into the Landfall update. It's so awesome, man. Also, we don't gotta worry about that tank back there. He's fully neutered. Oh, is he Russian? That's okay. He's fine. Anyway, the Iron Church. So they were like doomsday preppers beyond the total defense program, the total civil defense program that is basically what had everyone in Sweden prepared to fire a gun. These dudes took it like 3 steps further and were like, I don't want to fire a gun. What happens if I'm in a situation where all I have is a baseball bat? I want to be so strong that I could take down a tank. Like an actual tank with like treads and like a cannon, you know, tank with a baseball bat or a brick wall or something. And so they started getting prepared in a way that the rest of Sweden was not getting prepared. They started lifting tires and eating a ton of food. By the way, dudes, just a short aside here, if you want a video on how to have a pet tank or a pet wolf or, you know, a pet harvester or something like that, let me know in the comments down below, because I could easily make a video on how to do this with, like, all of your rival tanks across your entire map. And even then some. And the initiation, the cutthroat initiation for the freaking Iron Church here is crazy, dude. It's crazy. It again shows that feral-like mentality that goes through the Iron Church in a way that I at least totally did not expect. Lisa sighs and nervously scratches a scar on her left arm. All these recent fights over loot. The Iron Church members are getting more and more annoyed with you guys, you know? I think some of them are planning some kind of retribution. But I read that you have your own food production going on, right? You don't need to risk a fight over some canned beans, so maybe we can just leave the looting to them and just not involve ourselves? Lisa looks at me with such pleading eyes that I have to stop myself from making any promises then and there. The information that Lisa has so courageously shared with us is very much something that we as a community need to reach a decision about, and fast. I'm lifting this to the main topic for the Resistance community meeting this Friday. Please join if you're able. Editor's note, Lisa is not the person's real name. So we have this Jane Doe, this unnamed Lisa girl, essentially spilling all the beans about the Iron Church and a whole bunch of details that I at least personally never saw coming. Now this hits us with a very interesting development here. Are we going to have to someday choose between the Iron Church and the Resistance? Let me know what you think down in the comments below, and would you choose the Iron Church or would you choose the Resistance? Now, I've come on over to Grand Lugnet to show you dudes this kind of interesting bit of terrain here really quickly. I'm not sure if this has been around for forever or if this is just brand new. I feel like it's new though. And I'm kind of wondering if we might wind up seeing a sort of Iron Church headquarters built up here. It definitely looks like it's making room for something. Maybe this could be a Resistance headquarters or something as well. It's very interesting though. But probably one of the most interesting developments for the Iron Church, for me at least. One of the things that really caught my interest here was the brutality of the initiation. The whole, like, ethos of the Iron Church is very savage, and I really dig it, actually. I really think that it's an awesome progression on the faction themselves. And, you know, just the idea that, like, you have to go out to Baldur's Fall, which explains the location being on angry drugs this entire time. But you have to go out to Baldur's Fall, freaking take a wooden brawn ball bat with you, and, you know, if you die, you fail. If you run away, you fail. If you, like, fail to kill the machine completely, then you fail. But if you want to succeed, all you have to do is just kill one machine with that baseball bat to prove that you can make it with the Iron Church. And I totally think, as grim as it is, that that's what this pistol's here for. For if you happen to fail, but you come out alive after failing. But I think we'll leave that just at that, unless if the game expands on it further. Now, before we close off the video, I want to try to take this this initiation here, the Iron Church Initiation Challenge is what we could call it. Oh, I took 2 of them. Dual-wielding melee weapons and cheesy too? But let's drop one of those, and we're gonna try to do this initiation here off at Baldur's Fall. Oh, and we might be getting spotted here right off the bat, and it's a hunter. A lone hunter. Let's go, dude. Alright. Do a little bit of light work to him. Not gonna complain if the tick helps us a little bit here. There you go. Take that, dude. I feel like the hit detection for melee has gotten better. I don't know if you guys can hear me outside of the sound of, like, machine carnage here. Oh. Nice. Oh, man. No! Dude! That was crazy. That was ridiculous. There we go. We did it. We succeeded. Take that. Let's see if we can take down these guys too. Oh, I do. Alright, come on. Give us the stun. Yes. There we go. Go for the fuel cell. Ah, I missed. What? Come on, man. Bat in the jaw. All right. There we go. He's gonna die one of these days. Oh, or not. I gave him a concussion. Die! Yes! This is just a gut feeling of mine. It might not actually happen, but I think it would be really cool if, like, the Iron Church members were all using experimental med kits, especially the rad kits for the infinite stamina thing. I think that would be actually, like, a really cool way of tying it all together. Anyway, dudes, I started out this video thinking it was just going to be a short video, but this actually turned into a pretty big project. Hopefully you all enjoyed. Hopefully you're all stoked for the future of the Iron Church here in Generation Zero. It's going to be crazy, dude. I think even more crazy than new machines, at least for me. But anyway, for now, my dudes, stay awesome, and I will catch you all in the next one. Until then, peace.